Saludos y bienvenidos a todos to the PGP podcast, episode 60. 60. It's summertime. It's official, Moreno. It is official. The whole country is now on summer break. So, hey, out there, I see the pictures of all the piña coladas and the cold beer, ice drinks, the vacation, and the conferences. ISTE, ASCD, Lead Forward is out there, NASSP around the corner. Hey, so whatever it is that makes you whole and complete, enjoy it. Take your time to use that moment to resharpen the saw, to make you complete, make you whole, because you know what? The grind's around the corner. For some of us, it's less than a month away already, July the 30th. But you know what? It's about having this free PD right here in episode 60. Guess what, Moreno? I did a little bit of research. I didn't use ChatGPT, but I did a little bit of research. Only 9% of all podcasts reach this level. And then once you get to the 100, I think it becomes like 1%. So the thing is that, we're very blessed. And I'd like to say thank you to everybody. Number one, thank you to all the guests. We've had a gob of guests, Glenn has been on podcasts. And the thing is that most podcasts is one or two guests. This show has constantly 4 or 5 people just providing nonstop nuggets of knowledge, because that's the whole purpose of being the anchor show to the Fantastic Four. Remember, we're part of a network of 4 shows, which is Coach Hurt at 10 o'clock Facebook Live, 10:30 with Tammy and Shika, and El Jefe right now, who's leading an individual private session at ASCD in San Antonio right now, Principal Cafele, and we're the anchor show of the Fantastic Four. And all this is free PD, guys. And we have 4 shows that are all the same but different. They're all the same but different. And you could literally become a buffet and select 15 minutes of this, 15 minutes of that. So you know what? If you want to be part of this for the next 60 shows, whatever the Lord provides me with the strength, and this lady over here provides us the strength to make sure that you are part of this network, reach out to us. Reach out to us on our direct message, whatever platform. You know that we're on all the platforms. You have something very important that we need, which is your knowledge and your experiences. Just like this lady, she's about to take off to see bamboos and or gorillas, lions. Moreno, what's up with you in the valley?
Josh, well, I am in the RGV, and the 956 is what they call us down here, down in South Texas. Yes, there is still more Texas to be seen south of San Antonio. So I am just 8 miles away from the border of Mexico. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm working Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday down here. And then I am off to Tanzania on Friday. I'll be there about 14 days with a couple of teachers here from the U.S. working with PBA. And then I'm going to Rwanda, where I'll be hanging around with the gorillas.
Yeah, you will be.
There's a trekking with the gorilla safari, so I'm going to go check that out. Be something new for me.
So Dr. Moreno, that this show is about connecting people. So number one, tell people again, there might be someone from Nebraska right now. RGV, what does that stand for?
RGV is Rio Grande Valley. It's the territory south of San Antonio. It has about 5 different counties that kind of border Mexico. And so RGV is just that. Excuse me?
It touches all the Gulf.
It touches, yes. Touches the border of Mexico.
Right. And then also tell the people that, it's about shining the light on others. You're working with who on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday?
I am working with Dr. E.T. and company, and working with Noble Construction. It's a business that creates and builds HEBs, which are big supermarkets here in Texas. They do lots of Whataburgers and Sonics, which are fast food restaurants. They sell burgers. They do lots of banks and whatnot. So it's a big Texas Nobles construction company. So we're doing a lot of leadership for their new hires that they have. But yeah, super excited. Actually, they are going with us hopefully in October, because hopefully they will help us do some great projects in Tanzania.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And it's crucial. So if you want to know about that, reach out to Dr. Moreno. She has a world of knowledge because she literally gets her hands dirty with that kind of stuff in regards to working with corporations. Dr. ET is another consultant. So you want some support about EB students and you're in Nebraska, you're in Illinois, that's a great resource for you to use. This is not about monetizing anything because we don't get anything. On the contrary, this show is negative because we invest money on Restream, we invest money on logos, we invest money on all this stuff, and it's very important that it's about taking that knowledge, that working together, part of the Fantastic Four, part of everyone right there. So I'd like to do a quick Chinchilagua moment right there. Dr. Moreno, Chinchilagua. So I know that Shika just logged in, Miss Famous Fishaholic, but doesn't need calamari. She it's a show, it's a game played by Mexicans, and you line up and you yell Chinchilagua, y arriba boy, and you jump, and everyone keeps on jumping on top of your cousins, your uncles, and it's all fun and games. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. And then your grandma comes out with a belt, starts hitting everybody. If they throw the chancla, the sandal at everybody. So this is my moment. Hey, as you're reflecting today, enjoy it. You know what? I don't know. Different districts across the country right now. This is what I hear, and this is the pleasure of having a podcast with national figures. A lot of districts in the country are in debt. A lot of them have a lot of open vacancies that are being filled by non-traditional educators, which creates a new gap in learning. A lot of the scores that came back have not been that powerful as compared to the past. You know, there's all these things going on right there. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer when right now you're sipping your margarita or you're sipping your pina colada. I'm just trying to let you know is this. Take all the positives that you have. Mm-hmm. And then just realize one thing. Are you in the right place? The good thing about the current status of education is that there are a lot of free agency out there. And I'm telling you, there's tons of districts that need you. Are you the right fit where you're at? Do you think that you've outgrown your place? If you have, use those connections, use your PLN to find the right fit for you. And if not, hey, I'm happy here. I want to be that teacher that stays in the same campus, in the same classroom for 15 years. Nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But just when you come back, you can't come back with a chip on your shoulder thinking that you're going to go back again into that circle. Mm-hmm. Let me repeat that again. If you think that once your fifth margarita is done or your fifth piña colada is done, it's not going to go away. The same culture and climate is going to be at that campus. Oh, we got a new administrative team. Oh, things are going to change. No, it takes a whole family to change a campus. And if you feel that you're the right fit for the change, if you feel that you're the right thing at that campus, go. I tell our kids, and I said this in a lot of podcasts, in the morning announcements, every morning they have to hear my annoying voice for at least 8 minutes. And I got to tell them, this is what I expect. And I tell them every morning, I don't wake up to suck. I don't wake up to be happy with a 70, and neither should none of you. Hey, buddy, if you haven't noticed, I got new logos for the show. I got brand new things that I'm upgrading for this podcast. I could sit back and, just use, but no, you cannot be happy with being mediocre. You can't be happy with a C+. That will not make you successful. And that's exactly what we tell our students. You cannot be mediocre with the ways that you are or what you do. You always have to be the best version of yourself and always have a growth mindset. There's going to be things that I'm going to be putting out on Spotify. Our show's going back to our intro one. It's going to be loaded up again. I'm doing all of these investments to make sure that we get a bigger umbrella because this profession is difficult. So to close off my Chichilagua moment is this: refresh, kiss your kids, kiss your rabbit, kiss whatever you might have. Enjoy your time watching. You watch all the Avenger movies in a row. Do a Twilight Zone marathon. But when you come back to a happy place. Come back to where you know that you're going to be the change agent that those kids need. Dr. Moreno.
Change agent. Oh my God. Josh, this is a great time to reflect. And I love you said that because we don't do enough of that. And we have to. You're right. Why are we going back to something you're going to complain over and over again? I can't even fathom that, right? But you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you throw it out there and you tell people the way it is, because that's what this show does. There's no holding back. You tell it the way it is. And our guests do the same thing. And I love that. And I love that about this particular show, because we want to make sure that we're giving facts out to our guests. And again, change it up. You're absolutely right. We just celebrated 1 year on the show, right? We just celebrated a year this year. And so, of course, you want to change it up, jazz it up, spice it up, do what we need to do, just like you do as a sitting principal. And I think that's what we all need to do, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a coach, whether you're a principal, whether you're a superintendent. What are we going to do to make sure that we are working with our kids and making sure that we're giving the best of ourselves?
Exactly, Maria. Thank you for sharing that. And you know what? That's what I really value about this show. I can only talk. Obviously, you know that I hear tons of podcasts. And part of me being a better person on this platform is listening to others. I don't wake up to suck. It takes a lot of work to do this Sunday show. It takes a lot of a lot to do Shika's show, to do Kafele's show, because you're doing stuff, you're doing life. And then to do a quality work, even on this Sunday, you call guests, you come up with questions, you do little logo clips, you put it out there on social media. All that takes time. And I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want to do something that is a C plus. And when I see something better, I go for it. And so that's why I put it out there. Please use these shows to get the best knowledge out there. And you know what? Because it is a hard field. It is. And that's why we have our great guest today. And if you want to check out Superintendent Glenn Robbins, he was on episode 8, our very first Superintendent Roundtable, and on episode 36, where he did a lot about his first book, The Chaos. Oh my God, Maria, I always do it. Calm in the Chaos, The Stoics. The Stoics, book on the Stoics and leadership. And so before I get started, a big shout out to Constant Sherrard. Constant, you do MTSS. I'm going to reach out to you so you could be on the show, I think, in September. I'm already booking close to October, Moreno. Dot McKee, thank you for being here. A great PR. My sister, mi hermana from South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. Shika Houston, thank you for being here. She's laughing at the calamari joke that I made. I like messing with Tammy and her when they're live. And I say a bunch of nonsense. I'm talking good. Thank you, Shika. And you know what? Without further ado, my man, a superintendent that is about the people, a superintendent. If you see him, man, I'm starting year 33. I'm an old fart. I'm starting year 33. I've been in 2 cities, 3 districts. And these are big districts. I've seen a lot of superintendents. And it's hard to meet somebody with the corazón. El corazón. Because it's not easy. Man, the chair, Mari. The chair is hard. It's very difficult. Sitting in the chair is hard. But could you imagine the main chair? All the politics? Everything that goes on with the old lady that fell on the sidewalk of one of your schools, or your district was painting and it actually painted someone's property, and you got to deal with that. Or the bus driver took the yellow that turned red, which is 100% liability on the district. It's all that kind of stuff, and it all falls in this. Yet, through all the calm and the chaos, we have a great leader, a leader that really personifies leadership, but not only that, but caring for his people and making sure that he meets them where they're at. Superintendent Glenn Robbins. Welcome to the show, Mari. Stick.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you back, Glenn. You are always wonderful to all of our audience, and you have so much knowledge, and we're so appreciative, because I know you could do a zillion other things on a Sunday. But we appreciate you being with us again today and really helping our guests with more knowledge, because you're going to give more stuff, right, to all of us. So thank you again. Before we get started, Glenn, I want to make sure that everybody, if they didn't hear these previous episodes, that they know a little bit about you. It's important for people to know your background. So give the audience a brief background on the different roles. You're a superintendent. So you obviously just didn't grow up one day and say, superintendent. There was lots of steps and, roles and responsibilities before that. So what roles did you serve while in education, and which one was your favorite and why?
Well, it's funny. My 13-year-old thinks he's going to become a superintendent one day. And I'm like, buddy, do you realize the amount of work you have to do to get to that chair? And then once you get to that chair, do you realize what's on top waiting for you? But a great question, because, yeah, you just don't, get to the top, right, in that situation. I started off as a substitute teacher, and then I was a teacher of history for a couple of years, a varsity soccer coach. Enjoyed doing that a lot, miss coaching, but now I get to watch my son play. And then I moved up to assistant principal, summer school principal, then a principal, and then a superintendent of another district, and now a superintendent where I am now in Brigantine. And I've been almost coming up on just under 10 years now as a school superintendent. So spent a lot of my years in administration, and I love every minute of it. And the job that I love the most, I love the coaching, that in particular, especially working with the kids. And then
What did you coach?
Soccer.
Okay.
So I love playing soccer. And I think my other favorite position is the one I'm in right now. I've been in Brigantine for 5 years. I work 3 blocks from the beach with an amazing team, an amazing community, and life's pretty good.
Wow, how cool is that? I always, when I go to, work in different districts, every time I'm in a beach city, I was like, I don't know if I can ever work in a city where the beach is just right there. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah. But we use it to our advantage, right? One of the great things during COVID, we came back from our lockdown. I went to the board and said, can we just have a blanket field trip for them for all of our classes? Anywhere on the island, they can go on a field trip as long as the parents know 24 hours at a time, and they can utilize every resource. So we had kids down there writing persuasive essays or descriptive essays or doing math or just working with the Chamber of Commerce for different businesses and so forth. So we utilize pretty much all of our community. And you get to stop at the beach here and put feet in the water too. Doesn't hurt.
Talk about science. Science could be so much fun there, especially when you're talking about marine life. And that sounds so much fun. And taking the classroom outside.
Yep.
So cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Josh, take it.
Got it. Hey, Jeff Linden, welcome for being here. He has a great podcast. Just started listening to it. Check him out over there. I'll get the show's name right now. I'm sorry. My age. Sorry, Jeff. I like it. That's why I'm promoting it. For my age. I got too many podcasts in my head. And then, the chair of all chairs, Shika Houston, the chair of all chairs. Hey, you know what, Glenn? We're going to get into it right now, specifically into this book, because you know what? I'm the first one to always say, don't talk about negative about education. Don't be posting your stupid crap online. Don't be doing that. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. But there are actual realities that people need to be aware about if they want to aspire to higher levels in even to being a football coach. Do you understand the politics of being a football coach in Texas?
Because football, then God, then family.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm just wow. But you see, there's things that we're going to talk about, but you know what? There are a lot of people out there that I hear again. I try to listen to 3 podcasts every morning, at least an hour and 10 minutes every morning. I just PD for Josh. So Josh picks up stuff. And I hear, I want to do this. I want to be a writer. I've been told, they say that, not Josh. I've been told I have ideas to create a book. I have been told that I should be a speaker. So my man, you're a superintendent. Don't matter your 5 years. It's still a very hard job. It's never an easy thing.
Josh, superintendents don't last 5 years.
Right.
They only last maybe 2, 3, maybe.
Right. Fact.
2.3 is the national average right now. 2.3 years.
See, I told you. They don't last long. It's a big turnover all the time.
So you're doing that. You're speaking. You're getting dressed in suits that are green with shorts. You dress silly, and I love it. I wish I had the wherewithal like you to be silly like that. But you know what? This is your second book. my question is this specifically: how did you find time with all the speaking, all the job that it is entailed, to write a second book?
You forgot that I had two young children too,
Oh,
13 and 5. So yeah, add that on top of that. I write at night. I write at nighttime after the kids start to settle down a little bit. And I actually last summer wrote 2 books. So my third book will be coming out hopefully in the next year or two. I'm trying to take my time with this next one, about the cost of leadership, making those decisions that are not always popular and what goes to it. So the cost with that. But I wrote it during at night, buddy. So for any time between 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I go to bed, and then I wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock and start working.
So let me ask you this. Sitting in your chair, what is your average hours of sleep?
On average, I go to bed around, I want to say around midnight, 11:30 midnight. And then, like I said, I'm up by 5:30, 6 o'clock.
So 4 or 5 hours a night?
Yeah, I'll sleep when I pass away. So
right? Facts. Mari, take it away.
Glenn, I've heard that before, and I'm thinking I need my sleep. But you know what? I hear you. There's just so much to do. And I remember just being in the principal chair. I can just imagine being in the superintendent chair. That's just crazy. But you know what? Kudos to you, sir. And 5 years is just remarkable. So congrats again. My question to you is all about rejection. Because so many people out there really take rejection hard. It's like, it's really hard, or why they do this to me, especially in the, consulting world, or in even in the principal world, when you ask and they say no, 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 and you just don't feel like being supported and whatnot. So my question to you is more of a personal story. Can you share a personal story where you found that rejection really kind of pivoted your way to have something better open up for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was actually having this conversation with my son on the way home today. I was at a basketball semifinal championships today for 5-6 hours plus an hour and a half ride each way. And they lost in the finals by 2. And it was his first real big rejection on a real AAU team. And I said, you don't understand how much you've grown, how much you've completely changed who you were from February to now. And he was taking it so personally. And I was like, you have to understand and look at it from the lens that you learned a lot from this. You grew as a player. And I look at that from the leadership lens. How many times have we been turned off or rejected from an interview? And or we thought we were going to get that position. Or you mentioned a consulting job, you thought you were going to get the job, and it just falls through. There are so many variables. And I think when we're so much younger, very egotistical in a way, that we take it so personally.
Yes.
That we do not look at it as a learning opportunity in any particular way. So one of my mentors told me, he goes, when you go for interviews, when I was going for vice principal and then going to principal, he said, after every interview, write down every single question that you were asked, go back and reflect on that, because I'd love the reflection piece that you two are talking about. And then, if it doesn't work out, call the superintendent, whoever you interview with, and say, what can I do better? And see if they would be able to allude to that. And a lot of times they would say, sorry, Glenn, we needed to hire an in-house person. We needed to hire somebody of color. We needed to hire a female. We needed to hire a friend of mine that I promised a job. Like, there's so many different things that had nothing to do with me, and at first I was taken back and distraught, saying, I must be bombing these interviews. And then I was told at one time, and I mentioned this in the book, about, I would never make a good principal. And I was told that from a superintendent. And then several years later, I'm at the White House winning a national award. And then I go to superintendency and I see him, and I sit down next to him, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? By that time we were doing so many more things. So, but I looked at it like those things drove me to say, I'm not as good as I think I am. I can do better, and what is a learning opportunity in every situation. So when I shifted my mindset to taking it personally to what can I learn and how can I grow and how can I continue to be a lifelong learner, then I really started to level up my game. So I'm thankful for a lot of rejections in my life. You talk about football. Sophomore year, Josh, I was supposed to go try out in the largest Brazilian soccer stadium in the world. My sophomore year in high school, and I tore my ACL a week before. What would my trajectory have been in life? But I look now, I'm like, I'm really happy it didn't go that way. That was a rejection. Or so many other things along the ways where people told me no, the bosses had told me no, or whatever it may be. I used each one as a launch pad to something bigger and better. And man, am I thankful.
Absolutely. Who is it? George Strait. What is it? Unanswered prayers. I'm thankful for unanswered prayers or something like that. You're absolutely right. I tell people all the time, things happen for a reason. And so you have to take these failures and turn them around and see how you can learn from that for your future successes. You're not going to always get a yes. You're going to get, 5 no's or 10 no's before you're going to get your right yes. So I just think that this generation, and we're getting so many new principals in the chair that are Generation Z's, right? They're so young now that they're sitting as principals as 32-year-olds now. And they just don't understand how being rejected is like a failure to them. And it's like, no, you have to learn from this. You're not always going to get your things your way. And more than anything, learn from those. And it may not be the good fit. So things happen for a reason. And that's why you got to know.
To your point, how many times do you look back and go, wow, am I so thankful that did not work? The universe, God.
My first principal job, I didn't get hired.
Better, right? It got me out of the way to something better. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I applied for this particular school and I got a no, and I did exactly what you said. I called the superintendent and I asked, what, can you please give me some pointers? Of course, she wasn't available, but her director was. Mm-hmm. And again, he told me, what, this is what's going on. This is what you need to brush up on, but you had some great answers. And that's exactly what I did. And you know what? I'm glad I didn't get that job because, oh my God, the stuff that happened that year. So you know what? Things just happen for a reason. And then the job that I got, I loved it. And I stayed there for 18 years. So you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And I totally agree with what you just said. So thank you, Glenn.
So welcome, Melissa Jones Chunu from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was just in Oklahoma last night listening to Bret Michaels. That's an interesting casino there, Chunu. It was interesting. But you know what, Glenn? I feel you and understand you. On some of the podcasts I've been interviewed on, I talk about this. When you ask me if you don't know by now, I'll tell you 100% the truth. I was told you're never going to be a principal. People don't tell you; they tell you by their proxies. They don't tell you because they don't want to get into lawyer stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's one of those dark things out there. So I put my mindset in a deficit mentality, saying I'll never be a principal. I'm going to be a sustainable AP, but I'm never going to stop doing what I do, which is what I still do today. What I do right now is what I did as an AP, but I couldn't overshadow the principal. Power law number 1. You can't overshadow.
My friend, don't outshine the masters, right?
Exactly. And that sometimes gets me in trouble. And so, but I was told you'll never be a principal. So I understand that whole concept right there, what you're saying, and how it humbles you. And then this is another thing before I get into my question. Some of us get into this mentality, and I'm going to say it, abusive person, because it's both men and women, abusive relationship where you don't want to leave the relationship. You've invested so much time in that district that you don't want to leave it. Mm. But you see, if you keep on shining bright, people will see the diamond that you have hidden. Yeah. And even though people might throw some shade on it, there's so many stories I could tell you about how people throw shade at me. It doesn't matter. It's about overcoming and always doing what's right, not for you, but for your kids. Doing what's right for kids. Because as long as you're in the kid business and people see that, you won't have any obstacles. But you know what? What advice do you have, Glenn, to give educators who are constantly overlooked and told, you're not ready yet. Not here.
Yeah,
not here.
I always like that one too. You just don't have enough experience. Well, when am I going to get the experience, right? Like, how can I get the experience? So And I'm sure you've heard that before too, right?
I heard that for my first principalship.
So, you know, I love the one Tupac quote that I put in the book: for every dark night, there's a brighter day. You know, to your point, Josh, there's a lot of times where you really need to do a reflection. You know, are you really happy where you are? And I think you two hit the ball out of the park by starting this episode talking about you're in the summertime now, you're reflecting. Are you really in a good spot? Gallup put out a poll about roughly a month and a half ago that said that 31% are happy in their workplaces. Worldwide is 21%. In the United States and North America, it is 31%. That is all organizations plus hospitals. I don't know about you guys, but I want to go to a hospital where I see the one doctor, not the two other two. You know, 1/3 is happy, the 2/3 are not. That's scary. And then you look at it from the educational lens and the school lens. You talked about that earlier, Josh, about these toxic environments. The average school district is 60%. They feel pride, engaged, belief in what the organization is doing. You know, so I used a lot of my setbacks over the years to say, what can we do better to better help our staff, better help our families? And we've been surveying and working with an awesome company for the last couple of years. We're up to 95%. That number is unheard of, you know, especially in the education world. But my words of advice is that there is a place for you everywhere. When you read a book and you understand that there are so many different musical artists that were told no, who go on to be these mega stars, it's unreal. You know, and sometimes you got to take it in your own hands to rise up. Like I mentioned Taylor Swift. She starts off by just doing small little performances in parking lots. She put it in her own hands and kept working and working and working. And now look at the world. There's that Swiftie in everybody, right? Yeah, Josh is a rock and roller. I know he loves the Jimi Hendrix story where he opens up for the Monkees, you know, back in 1967. If Hendrix had not, well, let's back up. If Hendrix had listened to all the critics and told that you're awful, what are you doing? Because he was booed off the stage and he would have quit. Where would rock and roll be today, my friend? Would you have seen Bret Michaels? Would Bret Michaels be there? Would you have seen AC/DC a while ago? Would you have seen all these musical artists that come through? There are so many people who have been told, no, it's not good enough. That's why I hit it off with Tom Petty. Even his people were saying his Full Moon Fever album wasn't good enough. It was going to be a dud. And it took a friend of George Harrison to get it to the launch to the next level. My recommendation is, where do you really want to be? Are you truly happy where you're working? And there's someplace better. And research it. Every place is not always greener grass elsewhere. But if you're not happy, get up and make a change in your life. You get one life. You know, why waste it on something bad?
Thank you. Shout out to Edwin Garcia, doctor. You just moved New Jersey. He's a New Jerseyite. He just moved schools. Hey, let me know. Did you become the principal? I don't know, Edwin. Again, these individuals here, part of the Fantastic Four family, and that's why we have Talking Good, Coach Sean Hurd in the airport, going to the charter school conference. You see, it's those things that you got to connect with your audience. You got to find out where they're at. You follow them on social media, and that creates that beautiful PLN. And just so you know, Coach Hurt, this conversation at all will not include Mr. or Mrs. Potato Plant. We will not be talking about Mr. or Mrs. Potato Plant. And I know you just smiled in the airport right there. Mari.
Oh, my goodness. I'm just going to leave that at where it is, because I'm not even going to comment on that, but I'm sure he's smiling somewhere. Hey, Glenn, you talked a little bit about it. Just with this last comment that you were making regarding your book. And so let's talk a little bit about your book for a second. You included lots of iconic musicians, and you mentioned some, but you also have included Johnny Cash. You've included Elvis and Carole King. Why music? Like, you could have just compared, to something else, and yet you kind of shifted over to music. And I want you to tell me, how do their struggles, right? These musicians, how do their struggles relate to educators today?
I think music is the closest thing we have to a time machine.
There
are times where you're driving in that car and a song comes on, and if you're going through something, you're just hearing the lyrics, and the lyrics are really hitting home. And then there's other times the song comes on and you're like, man, I remember being back at this place at that time, and this was awesome, or it was bad. Like those are your time machine moments in your head to take you back. So everybody can relate to music. I mentioned here, besides the ones you mentioned, I have Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, I have Wu-Tang in here, Andre Bocelli, Toby Keith, Taylor Swift, and so forth. Everybody can relate to some kind of musical artist in some particular way because it really hits home to the heart. There are so many times, maybe it was your first love song, maybe it was your first breakup song, maybe it was your first time you got hired. You remember, you're going through a battle and that was your battle cry. You're screaming it down the highway like Josh does as he's driving, and everybody turns over and looks at him and goes, "Who's this guy?" Right? But that's why I chose music. And I think too, as I started reading more and more about musicians as a young kid, it made me realize later on in life, like, wow, they went through struggles too. It's not always easy. I did not have an easy upcoming. I come from a very blue collar family, and I do not come from the field of education. I had to learn and earn a lot and meet a lot of new friends and mentors along the way to help me grow. But that music right there pushed me forward. And then when I heard about Tom Petty getting rejected, and then when I heard, years later about Elvis Presley being told to stay a truck driver, and or Toby Keith, worked out. You mentioned Oklahoma, right? He's out on the oil rigs and he wanted to be a country star. And he decided to uproot himself, go to Nashville and put all of his money on himself because no music label would go for him until he finally broke free. And there's so many other musical artists I don't even mention in the book. But for me, that was what really relates to education. Educators have been told no. Educators are beat up by critics, whether it's in a newspaper or social media or online or whatever it may be. You have constant critics. I was at the game earlier today. I saw a coach immediately after the game get jumped on by two parents because their kid wasn't playing enough. But the coach won the one game like 97-30. Like, he played everybody and everybody's, doing things. My point is, like, people are never happy enough. And music, I think, in a way, these musical artists can show that they weren't happy either, and they struggled too. But good things can come from it if you keep staying what you're doing and following through on your purpose and your passion, and realizing that sometimes you do have to get up and move. Sometimes it will take a change in your life. And yeah, sometimes those rejections are the greatest thing ever because God or the universe has put you on a better path that diverted you from something god awful.
So that's true. Amazing. You know what? I'm actually going to be on a plane for 24 hours straight, right? With like a 1.5 hour layover here. So, you know what? I'm going to Amazon it real quick. I don't leave till Friday. I get everything overnight. So I'm going to have to find your book because you know what? Just you talking about it sounds so interesting. And I didn't realize all these artists were rejected at some point, and look where they are today.
Yeah. So I equate that too. Like, look where this music field is. And then you think about all these educators who we look up to. Josh, you mentioned a bunch of them earlier about on your podcast who you host. Those people didn't have easy lives to get to where they are now. So many of us have learned to overcome those things. Marie, you're going to Africa. You said you had some rejections earlier in your life. Here you are going to Africa. But here's something cool for you too. After you're done reading the book, at the end of the book, there's a QR code. And then you get a whole playlist on Spotify to listen to. So after you're done reading, you can listen to music of all people who have been rejected as well.
For the trip back, right? For the other 24 hours that I'm flying back.
So cool. Thank you for sharing that, especially the list. Because you know what? That's one thing that unites us all. Don't forget that during PD, unite your staff by listening to music, brings everybody. Have everybody sing the Cheers anthem. What is that? Them alphas and millennials, they don't know that. But, just find that common thing that unites your faculty. And music and breaking bread is one of the greatest things that helps unite a faculty of staff together. So thank you very much. Oh, hey, thanks for sharing that, Edwin, that you're rebuilding your campus right there. And yes, Constance Gerard, rejections are God's protection. I agree with you 100%. So if you have not done it, like and share it. Come on, just go down there right now, real quick. Press the button, share it, like it, real quick. Well, that's it. You should have done it already. It's done. That way, it grows the algorithm because we need to hear these stories that Superintendent Glenn Robbins is sharing with us. You know what? You talk about imposter syndrome. And I agree with you so much. I just presented at TASSP and I was sitting on my phone, not in the sessions. After the session, I was waiting for my car. I was going to go there and I'm scrolling. And this lady comes up to me. I don't know who she is. You're at a state conference and you know how state is such a small state, very little, very little. And she comes up to me and she tells me, oh, I know that you're scrolling, but I want to let you know that our scores, I don't know who she is. She's telling me this out of nowhere. And she goes, our scores went up with this on our EB students, thanks to you and your presentation last year. Exactly. That's what I did. I didn't know how to react to that. I'm like, me? That was just 45 minutes at TASSP. That's it gives it like that's one of those things that Jimmy Casas talks about, that as educators we want it, but then we don't want the kudos, that we want the acknowledgement, but then we don't want it. And so it gives you that kind of that same concept. So with imposter syndrome that happens in our field of education, how do you think that educators, someone like me that's an old man, I'm oil, how can we overcome this kind of feeling? Sometimes, no, I could never be a superintendent. No, I could never do this. No, I can't ever do. Oh, whatever it might be. How can we overcome this feeling as educators?
Right. I think I heard the saying the other day. Someone said that if you're not suffering from imposter syndrome, you're probably a sociopath or a serial killer, because you're not really caring about yourself. So I look at it like this. You care deeply about doing the best possible job. You have the most precious prized possession coming to you every day, every one of those children coming from a household. We always say, these kids are above all our greatest asset in life. And we forget about the work we've done. You come this weekend, you might have had like one or two people email you or beat you up, but you forgot about the 16 other people that were extremely happy about the work you did, and or you passed the bond referendum, or you passed, your test scores went up. We get so wound up in our minds that we're overthinking that you have to say, wow, I've really conquered a lot in my lifetime. If you were teaching or any education field just 5 years ago, all right, you've overcome COVID. We were all shut down, locked down. We all did a billion things that no one was supposed to do or know how to do. The states were closed down, so you're basically running yourselves, and yet you still came out bigger and stronger. So I tell people all the time, you should be like the movie Gladiator. You just killed a bunch of people, did great things, and are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? What else do I have to do for you? Because I'm rocking it. And the second you start to doubt yourself, find your soundtrack, and hopefully it's at the back of the book on my Spotify list, and crank up that radio and forget how the badass that you are. So when you're going to work and you come rolling in playing with some heavy metal on or rap or whatever it may be, get in your zone, because you are a rock star in one particular way or another. And you might not realize, Josh, you were a rock star to that person a year ago. And I can't tell you, my friend, how many other rock star moments you've had, the both of you, hosting people on this show who are people who are listening at whatever state they might be on. So when you start thinking, oh man, I'm not doing enough, or oh man, I could do more, where I'm on that flight of 24 hours, you've already done so much. And you should be damn proud of the work that you've done. So never forget that, because every kid in that room is looking up to you as a model in some particular way. And you have people who will come to you later in life that stop you at a Whataburger or Wawa up here, or whatever it is, the stores, wherever you're at, and say, Mr. Robbins, I remember you. You actually care. And here's where I am now. People are always watching. But most importantly, don't forget how awesome you are and everything you truly accomplished in your life to where you are to this point. Regardless of your position, you probably overcome a lot of different things that most people don't know, and you should be proud of that.
So true. Thank you for sharing that. And hey, take a sip and take that shot. I know you're hearing this. I know you're at the playa and you got that band behind you. take a shot. You earned that one right there. Yes, this is an organic show, and I do not edit stuff. And it's time. And it's time to promo. So I'm going to start promo, and you finish off there, Dr. Glenn Robbins. Right here, Sean Kane's brand new book, Fundamental 5. This is 100% my pedagogy. Josh Dolato's pedagogy for the last umpteen years. Fundamental 5, Sean Kane's brand new book. Have you had that awkward conversation with that teacher that can't control their classroom? And the kids leave their classroom all riled up, swinging from the rafters, and they go into the teacher next door, who is very controlling, doesn't allow them to breathe only every 45 seconds. Does that teacher need some guidance? Kevin Curtis. He tells you how to do it. 1, 2, 3. That handsome fella right there. Look at that handsome fella right there. He shows you how to do it at the campus, at the district level, and in the classroom level. Jimmy Casa's brand new book, guest a couple of shows ago. Brand new book out there. He will be at, and he just had his institute, and he'll be at NASSP. And 23 right now, as you take your second shot, break out with Barbara Bray's book, Grow Your Why, where yours truly wrote chapter 23, saving the best for last, on how we turned around a school at MPA and at Socorro High School. Glenn Robbins, I think you have a couple of books in your hand.
I have mine, my friend. Yeah.
Go. Tell them about it real quick. Calm in the chaos.
As you mentioned earlier, Calm in the Chaos, Ancient Stoic Wisdom for Successful School Leadership. People, if you think the world has changed much with human emotions in the last couple thousand years, it hasn't. So these Stoic leaders have gone through similar things that we have, if not worse. So you can be calm in the chaos as it hits you each and every day. And then, of course, the one we've been talking about, my friend, I Won't Back Down, how educators can turn rejection into redirection.
So true. The only thing that's changed, people, the only thing is that we have nuclear weapons and more oranges in a store. Other than that, that's it. Because before you couldn't go to the store and get oranges and apples. Now you can. All right. Dr. Moreno, take it away.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. So Glenn, we're going to stay with this whole rejection because I can't tell you how often I listen to principals that focus only on the bad stuff and not focus on the good stuff, the positive things in the school. And when you put so much energy into that negative stuff, it's like you're spinning your tail, right? You're just kind of going in circles. So my question to you, sir, is how can school leaders create a culture where they're not just always looking at this rejection, that they are looking at it for growth and opportunity so that they can kind of, grow their school, right? I mean, how can we, what strategy or what can you talk to along those lines to educators, to principals, assistant principals out there, because that's why they're unhappy. That's why they talk negative about their jobs, because they're always focusing on that rejection. So how can we help change that culture? Because it's culture.
That's a great question. I think it takes a lot of reflection on the leader themselves. It's like I constantly go home and think, what can I do differently? So for us, are you a leader that's going to allow mistakes to happen and yet not criticize the people for the mistakes that happened? Are you going to allow them to grow? So for my staff, I tell them to take risk all the time. Look, as long as no one's dying and no one's breaking bones, let's try something new. If I'm in your class, would I fall asleep or would I be excited? So I look at it from this, I'm going to let you fail, but you're not failing. I want you to explore new pedagogical practices. And I'm going to say, hey, what can we do to get you better? What kind of PD would you like to be? How could we help better asset to you? But I also think it's a lot of psychological safety too, right? Can people feel safe and supported to come talk to you as a leader? Like Josh, you mentioned me being superintendent invisible. People stop me all over regardless of position. And there's a lot of times I got those wacky suits on that people don't realize who I am. And I'll talk to them like a regular human being and and have great conversations. And then they realize later while I'm at the store, like, wait, you're the superintendent too? And I'm like, yeah.
Wait, what wacky suit? You need to rewind, buddy. Hold on. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so every holiday I wear a different suit themed I'm sure you can probably Google me. I'm all over the place, but I dress up as the Grinch, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and then I wear suits, literally suits with shamrocks on it. I have one for hearts and it's all red. I have like 6 or 7 for like the Christmas time and all the holidays there. I have one Pac-Man suit. I have a Super Mario suit. And those are all intentional.
That explains why you have a 95% satisfaction rate at your district, because you're the cool superintendent.
Well, I'm also the one that when a family's walking in the door or a teacher is 5 minutes late because something happened that morning, they can look at me and laugh for 5 minutes and forget about the horrific morning or night that they had and realize that, hey, you know what? Okay, don't take things too seriously. I can laugh and smile a little bit. And what can we do differently today? So the teachers feel empowered to do different things when I allow them to do that. We mentioned the trips to the beach. It's a scary thing. My second year there when we started to do this. My first time, I started in the district in February, and then the world ended in March in 2020. That's when I started. So when we came back in October, I said, look, that following year, I said, look, we can do the field trips across the island. And we did that. And I had a teacher stop me and said, Glenn, I've been here for 32 years. This is the first time we've been allowed to go outside of the building to the beach. And we went to the bird observatory and we wrote about it, and we did our creative drawing sport for art class as well. We did math over on the seawall, and then we stopped and got ice cream on the way back, and we walked back to the school. It was the best year I ever had. The best day I ever had in 32 years, something small and simple. But if you're not allowing your teachers to take risks and try new things, then what are you truly doing? I know that people want test scores, but you're not going to get better test scores by grilling in test scores. You're not going to do that. You got to focus on culture, and you got to believe that they want to be there. Teachers have to be happy. Then it goes to the kid. Then it goes to the families. Then it goes to everybody else. But if you don't have a collective group working together for the betterment of making a smiling place, and I tell people all the time, I wear these wacky suits and I do all these crazy fun things because I work in a school. I'm not in the prison. I'm not in the business organization. I run a business. But what kind of business would you like them to be? I told my staff this 2.5 years ago, we need to be like Savannah Bananas before they truly blew up. Like, we need to have fun with this each and every day. We don't know what the stories are of the kids who are coming in from the night before. We don't know what's going on. But what we can control is those 7 to 8 hours in our building each and every day. And I got to lead and model the way so they feel that they can do it too.
You said lead and model the way, right? You're the superintendent. If they can see you do it, they can do it, right? It's how you lead. The other thing you said,
especially when you say dress code. It's like, do you have a dress code? I'm like, look at me dressed down. You see me? Like when I say at the end of June, it gets hot up here. I know it's hot 24/7 for you guys, but when it gets hot up here in June, I'll tell the gentlemen, the male teachers, I'm like, you can wear, dress shorts. Go for it. You would think they just won the lottery.
Did you see his eyes?
They wear flip-flops and we're at the beach, but you're at the beach. We're working hard. We're doing work each and every day. Go outside, do things and so forth. If you need to dress to impress each and every day, maybe you need to reconsider what you're truly doing as a leader.
I hear you, and Gary, I'm with you 100%. And I love the fact that you allow people to take risks. I think that's one of the big problems, is the fact that principals, assistant principals, superintendents, whatever supervisors out there, we don't allow our teachers to take risks, and they're constantly like freaked out either if they try and do something and they fail, then they're going to get reprimanded, written up, and it's all this negative stuff. And so that's why people are afraid. But I love the fact, here's a superintendent saying, take risks. I'm hoping people out there, or folks out there listening to this podcast, here's the fact that we have to be able to allow our staff to take risks so that they can learn from those trial and errors, so that we can become better leaders in the future and then support our kids in a much better and different way.
And here's the cool thing about that. Intentionally working on the culture and taking those risks and doing all those different things, our attendance rate has gone down. Our discipline has gone down. We give more programs for our kids. Like you talked about, the 95% engagement rate, pride and culture and belief of our staff. Our test scores have gone up. we've run and been recognized nationally several times. Here I spoke at the United States Department of Ed in August, and I spoke again at the Google headquarters back in May. These things pay off because of what we're doing. If you're truly allowing the staff to thrive instead of, like you mentioned, looking over your shoulder. Because guess what, guys? I had that boss a couple times before. Josh, you ever work in an office where someone calls you and you're during the summertime and you have your hours done at 4:30 or 3:30 and they call you at 4:25? Hey, just checking to see if you're still here. How you doing? It's been a long day. No, you're checking to see if I left early. And I've been here for 8 straight hours. I didn't take a lunch. But yet you're going to make me look over my shoulder and now constantly question each and everything I'm doing now. Yeah, that's not the person I want to be.
Yeah, kudos to you, sir. I'm so excited. And that's why you're successful, because you are who you are and you're authentic and you make it fun for your staff. So kudos.
I'm good at where I am because of my staff around me and my board and everybody else. I'm blessed to have that. So
yeah,
I'm along for the ride. I can make it a little fun for them.
There you go. Good. There you go. So you know what? What a great way. We're in our last question before we get into our lightning round. And so for those out there watching this on the rebroadcast, seeing it live, this is a very good book, and it ties into my Chinchilagua moment. What do you want for 25-26? I will support you. I always tell our team members, if I'm not the right fit for you, that's fine. Just let me know. You want to go to another school, I will let them know. I just ask for professional courtesy. I'm never going to hold you back. I never hold anyone back. If I could let you go the next day, bye. Because the longer you're with me and you're not happy, the more miserable you're going to make everybody. I don't understand why principals do that. I don't. That is so toxic. That's a power play. If let them go. Just let them go.
No, they don't let them go, and then they say a bad reference. They give a bad reference.
Right. Right, exactly. Dude, they got the gig already. So you don't have to blackball them, they already got the gig. Yeah. So my point is this, as make sure that when you do return, that you're in the right place. And this is a great book for you to read. This is an awesome book for you to read. Look, Glenn is not making it rain on me right now. I really believe in this book and what he brings to the table in regards to, that's why I've been promoting it for the majority of the podcasts, those 2 books, because you know what, as a leader, there's always chaos. The cheerleading mom is chaos. The softball mom that doesn't want to sell cookie dough is chaos. The cash, the register, the cafeteria cashier who's married to the board member, it's chaos. All that is chaos. And so I want you to make sure that you feel comfortable, feel validated when you go back to work, but you're happy. Because you need to be happy as an individual, as a professional. Because you know what? Not only will you make your kids miserable, but you're going to start making your family miserable. And that's what, and I've seen it. It creates divorces at home. It creates separation because you bring home the toxicity of, that principal, that department head, those kids don't want to read and learn. Then you're not happy. Find your happy place. And with free agency, I can guarantee you there's tons of places for you out there. So what's one piece of advice you can give Superintendent Glenn Robbins with someone that told you when you first started out there, you can't do it. No puedes. No vas a ser principal. You're not going to be a principal. No, you can't do this. You're not the right fit in this organization. Hold on. I don't think you embody what we believe in as a district. What can you tell those people?
You say there was such conviction, my friend.
Josh has heard a lot of stuff, brother.
And I think that's part of the reason why. I think that's part of the reason why I wrote the book too, right? Because there's so many people who have been in these dark places, throughout their career, whether starting and or 33-year veteran. It happens each and every day. One piece of advice I would offer is don't take things personally. Don't take it personally, because you start doing that. Personally means you're affecting your own ego. And the other piece of advice, get a mentor, someone who's been there before. Maybe they can give you a different perspective that you were not expecting. And that's what really helped me to change my perspective, really listening and talking to people like, why am I not a good fit? And then you start to realize that maybe I need to go someplace else, because if you stay confined to what you are, who would you be as an educator today? There's so many. I look back and I'm so thankful. Like as a teacher, I remember my supervisor is like, you don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. I'm like, I do want to be here. I work here. I love my job here. I was a young teacher. And then years later, I went there. I was like, I know exactly what you were saying. You were trying to say, go to a better district, get out of this toxic environment, but you couldn't say it to me. I was like, you should have just said it to me. Like, we're in Northeast Jersey. Like, just come out and be cutthroat. Like, that's what we do in the Northeast. But I look back at that. I look back as a vice principal role, going for principalship, having that mentor, and then having the personal mindset of not taking it personally, really reawakened who I could be. And now I'm super grateful that I did that, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be on this awesome show. Episode 60, a year later. Right? Come on now. It is an awesome thing to be part of today.
Thank you. Very, very kind of you. Very kind of you, and all your kind words out there. And yes, thank you, Jeff, for listening. And you know what? I like that you said that about the coach. Darren Pepper said this. I've been following him for a while, and I have a 6-year-old, Glenn. I can't afford a coach. I got 3 kids. I got 3, but you know what? You know what I'm talking about, right? And if I want to take him to Motley Crue, I got to save some of those pesos. So my coach are following people like you, listening to podcasts like Jeff Linden.
Back at you, buddy, because it's the same way. Because I'm a small district, small money. I don't spend it on that. Like you said, you're listening to 3 podcasts in the morning. I'm going for runs in the morning, and on my runs, I'm listening to 1 or 2 podcasts. All these different things, investing. So you're hitting the nail on the head, my friend.
Right, and that's exactly why I put it out there, and I'm going to close the way I always close. This is free PD. Hey, Iowa, you don't have to get a PO. You're broke like we are in Texas, Iowa. Hey, Nebraska, I know you don't pay a lot. You don't got a lot of money. Use these kind of shows for the betterment of your kids, because if you're better, your kids will be better. And then if your kids are better and you're better, you don't go home lying on the couch with that lead blanket that you're so drained. And you know what? All it takes is just putting on those headphones, those earbuds, and listening to that free PD. But you know what? I digress. We're about to close with the lightning. And you've been here before. You know what ganas is, Glenn. Glenn, ganas is a magical word. It's said by Cubanos, Boricuas, Bolivianos, El Salvadoreños, Nicaragüenses, Mexicanos. We all say the same word. We say ganas. It's a spiritual word. It's a word that's yelled by a grandma to her granddaughter who's about to play volleyball. And she's échale ganas, mija. It's a grandfather who's seeing his little grandson in T-ball. Con ganas, mijo. There is no equate. There is no equate out there. This is why it's called the PG Ganas podcast, because we need every single last answer throughout the show. And right now, Superintendent Glenn Robbins, que le eches ganas. I want that spirit. And remember, sir, it's a lightning round. Okay? I don't need dissertations. We're closing the show, all right? So here we go. All right. Give advice to a substitute or an outside teacher.
Read chapter 15. It's all about alternative route. It has in there at the end of it 3 different things for educators to learn from: evaluate and educate your skills and interests, research the educational requirement that are required to go work someplace else, and then gain some experience. And then lastly, every chapter comes with write your own lyrics, more reflection. So alternative route and subs, we start reflecting.
Love it. Read a note, an email, or text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
So I got to find it on my phone. I came back to my office at the end of the school year. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little Post-it note on a white piece of paper. And at the beginning of the year, I put a Post-it note on every teacher's desk with a motivational quote of some sort for them. This one was a big Pink Floyd fan. Once again, music, Pink Floyd, right? And it's a great day for freedom as part of one of the lyrics. So I put, it's a great year for freedom. And I got on my desk I've had this on my desk every day for this entire school year. It inspired me the whole year. Thank you. It certainly was a great year for freedom. So there's a post.
Eso. I love it. 2 parts. Send some flowers to an active educator who inspires you in your work.
I think I sent it to my 2 assistants that I have, Elise and Barbara. They inspire me every day because they do a lot of my work, and they are amazing ladies.
All right. Name one person people should follow on social media.
Woo! How about you guys? If you're not following you guys, you're doing something wrong, right? Come on, free PD. I love it, especially with all the Hispanic Mexican words in here. I'm learning each and every day when I'm listening to you guys. I'm a big soccer guy, so I feel like I'm watching the Mexican national team.
Hey, bro. Watch out, man. Watch out. World Cup, baby. That's why our hashtag this year is goal setter tied to the World Cup. Which Marvel character do you identify with?
Ooh. I think Hulk, because I try to stay calm in the chaos. If not, I turn into the evil green beast.
All right. What's your favorite video game or outdoor activity?
Favorite video game or outdoor activity? Ooh, I'll go old school Nintendo. I play that with my son sometimes. And I remember walking in one time with the old school Nintendo. He's like, "Why is the game so glitchy?" And I'm like, "Boy, that is high def graphics right there."
You have no idea.
An outdoor activity, fishing with my kids. I love going fishing with my kids.
All right. Where are the best ribs in the country?
I'm going to say in St. Louis. I can't remember where it was, but I stopped in downtown St. Louis, and they were amazing.
Up your alley, which decade, genre, and artist or group is your favorite?
I think if I had to go overall, favorite group would probably be Metallica.
Woo! Wherever I may roam, baby.
I was going to say Black Crowes. I could go on for hours about music, obviously. But I think
today's the last show. I wanted to take my boy. Today's the last show on the North American tour. They're playing in Denver. Ugh! All right. So how can people get a hold of you, senor?
I'm all over the socials at Glenn Robbins or Glenn G. Robbins. And then you can obviously just Google me, type in glennrobbins.com. 2 N's, 2 B's, and there I am. So glennrobbins.com. The books are on there. All the socials are on there. Everything else is on there.
So make him part of your algorithm. You can't go wrong. I'm telling you. Just follow him and it'll appear in your thread. And whatever thread you do, that's where he's going to appear. And I tell you that because as I started the show with him, he is an active educator, that's caring about the people he works with. And most importantly, I think the most important thing that we all need to do as leaders is role model the expectations.
Absolutely.
If you're able to do those things, be active and role model what you expect, then everyone will follow right behind you. So I would like to thank you very much for being here, Glenn, today. Don't forget that next week we'll have yet another 2 authors talking about behavior. Charlie Peck and Josh Stamper was here before. Great authors, great people from across. Nothing but national speakers here, baby. Nothing but top-notch talent here. And then after that, we have trauma. I had to create a trauma-informed show because you know what? I didn't want to give it to you the first week after vacation because you were getting a lot of margaritas right now. I didn't want to be Debbie Downer. But you know what? After that, the retirement show, because a lot of you are contemplating that. So I got brand new recent retirees that want to come and talk to you guys about what their thought process was and where they're going. You see, this is a whole collective show. It's about learning from each other, from a superintendent, from a writer, from an author, from retired individuals, because we're not alone. Nebraska, you're not alone. Alaska, Hawaii, you're not alone. Maine, Florida, you're not alone. The middle, everybody in the middle, you're not alone. You choose to be alone. You could use this as a powerful weapon of connection. This is how you grow your PLN. Don't think about it in a negative way, because as educators, we have that mentality, but you choose to have a negative algorithm. You don't have to be, because this is free PD. And the best version of yourself will always come out when you follow individuals like this. You got this lady right here that dealt with nothing but newcomers, kids that were learning English, and she's about to go to Rwanda. Do you understand? She's about to go to Rwanda and help kids over there. You know what? This is the best field in the world. We're in the best profession, the profession that creates all the other professions, education, and you're part of it. Don't be by yourself. Don't be an island, because you know what? You're loved, you're appreciated, and you do God's work. You do the Lord's work. And that's why we need you in this business. And that's why you need to be in the right place at the right time with the right mindset, because those kids in 25, 26 are still going to bring their traumas. They're still going to bring their successes. They're still going to bring their victories, and they're going to still bring their moodiness. It doesn't matter what it is, and you're not alone. You have that cell phone that will protect you, take care of you, and embrace you. That's what we're all in it about. It's the kid business. So thank you very much for being here. We'll see you next week with Charlie Peck, Josh Stampert. Say goodbye, everybody.
See everybody.
Bye.
Like it and share it. We're done. Peace. Stay watching.